Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston with DefeatYourCravings.com, here with a kind-hearted woman named Sherry, who's agreed to share her experience with you so you can benefit from her wisdom and success, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles and falls. Isn't that right, Sherry?
That's correct.
So why don't we start with a kind of brief history of your struggles with food before you came to us, and then what happened?
Okay. So pretty easy. Growing up, I didn't really have any issues with food. I was normal weight. I think I ate normal. I would say if I had any issues with food at all, was maybe chocolate chip cookies. It was kind of hard just to have one. So maybe I'd have two, but I didn't see that as an issue. And my food issues started when I was in my late 30s, early 40s. I think it was about the 90s. And Glenn, because of your history with food companies, I think you can relate to this. I think it was around the 90s where all of a sudden food companies talked about no-fat foods. They kind of advertised and implied that if you ate something that had no fat in it, then you can eat as much as you want. And they didn't talk at all about how much sugar they were putting in.
Yes, like the Snackwell stuff.
I was going to say that exactly. Snackwell was evil. I don't know if they're still in business any longer or not.
I could eat a box or six, no problem.
Yeah, those little teeny mini chocolate chip cookies, they tasted like cardboard. They didn't even taste very good. And if you looked on the box, I think maybe 6 cookies were 50 calories, but who ate 6 cookies? You know, I started eating and then ate some more, and pretty soon the whole box was gone. Another thing at that time was yogurt stores. Like every time you looked around the corner, there was a frozen yogurt. Remember those? And no fat. So,
do you remember the Seinfeld episode about that?
No, I don't.
Oh, there was a yogurt store that was supposed to be fat-free, but they were all eating it and gaining weight. It turned out there was a whole bunch of fat in it.
And lots of sugar. And I thought I was being good because it was yogurt. You could put all those candy toppings on it at the time and syrups and that kind of stuff. And I never did that. I just ate the pure yogurt thinking, oh, this is like a healthy snack. And I think about 3 o'clock, I was at my office. There was a yogurt store right around the corner. It'd be a short walk. And, I really thought that I was having a healthy snack. Another thing with like coffee, I think that's about when Starbucks became popular. And I would get a mocha latte with a few pumps of mint and never put whipped cream on there or those little candy pieces, but think, it's coffee. How bad can that be? So over time, between the Snackwell cookies and the yogurt and the coffees, all of a sudden I went from normal weight to just gaining lots and lots of weight.
You were a plausible deniability binger.
Yeah.
How bad could it be there's no fat in it?
Yeah. And I really felt kind of misguided by all these food companies because I truly thought I was eating healthy and did not realize all the sugar that I was dumping into my body. And I attributed it to I was busy at work and I had kids and I had a husband and life was busy and I was just stressed or whatever. And then it was about 2013, 2014, I read a book, which I know a lot of your people have talked about, Salt, Sugar, Fat, how the food giants hooked us. And that just like turned a light bulb on in my head. It was for the first time I really realized how much sugar I was eating. And the book even equated sugar to cocaine. And I kind of felt like that. The more I ate, the more I wanted it. So after reading the book, I really just put down the book and decided I am not going to eat. I'm going to try my hardest not to eat sugar. Barbecue sauce and salad dressing and all these places I really never had any idea. But it was interesting because as soon as I stopped eating the processed sugar, I almost went in like on being a drug addict, where I had symptoms of achiness and headaches and crabbiness. And I really realized for the first time how much sugar was affecting my body. Like I said, I really tried to limit the amount of processed sugar, and I lost, I'd say, about 20 pounds, which is the most that I've ever lost. And then the weight just stopped. No matter what I did, I couldn't lose anymore. And at that point, I turned 60 and I found my knees were starting to hurt and I was getting nervous. I wasn't pre-diabetic, but I could see that coming around the corner. And I was now on the obese scale on the weight charts. And I just thought I have to do something. But the only thing I knew I didn't want to do was go on another diet because I had dieted so much throughout my life. And the only thing dieting ever got me was losing 10 pounds and then gaining 12 pounds and losing 10 pounds and gaining 15 pounds back. So I knew I needed to do something, but I knew I didn't want to diet. So it was last year, shortly after New Year's, I went on Google to look for how I could lose weight. And your book came up. And what really attracted me to your book was the back door to weight loss. The Defeat Your Cravings didn't catch me as much as the back door to weight loss. And I really thought, this hopefully will be the answer to my problems. So I read your book. At first, I wasn't even almost going to buy the book because you talked a lot about a pig, which I thought was kind of odd, to be honest with you, and binging and cravings. And I really didn't think that that applied to me. My problem was that I was overeating, and I knew it. But I didn't really realize that the overeating and the binging and the cravings were all related to each other. And after reading the book, I really began to understand that at least where my issues were, why it was that I was overweight. And I self-diagnosed myself as having my biggest issue was I'd come home from work, I'd be absolutely starving, I'd start making dinner, and I refer to this as tasting. And tasting the food before putting it on the table actually equated to an entire meal's worth of food that I was consuming sitting over the stove while cooking. I mean, this went on for years and years, and I tried absolutely everything I could to break that habit. And I assumed it was a character flaw on my part or just something that for some reason made me different than everybody else. And I tried every single thing. I would drive home to work and say to myself in the entire ride home, today I'm going to stop eating while making dinner. And I'd walk in the door and repeat the same bad behavior over and over again. So when I read your book, early on, you say to set up rules. And I think you said that the best thing to do would be to start with an easy rule that would be easy to follow and would make a difference. To be honest with you, didn't do that. I decided that I was going to test your theory and make a rule that really was the heart of my issue, and that was tasting, again in quotes, while cooking. My rule was no tasting ever while cooking dinner. It really was like magic where I committed to that rule. And this was back in November of 2024, last year. And I have not tasted ever since. I just completely stopped doing that. It was life changing for me. I can't really describe how hard that was to break that habit and how relatively easy it was by just setting this one rule. And on top of that, I'd say I'd lost maybe 2 to 3 pounds in the first few days. So I thought, this is the answer to all my problems. I've got this. And then all of a sudden, the weight loss just stopped. I think I lost 3 pounds and continued not tasting, but didn't lose any weight. And I became really frustrated and angry and disappointed. But I thought that your program, there was something there that was able to make me stop tasting. Maybe it could help me find out what my problem was. So I signed up for the program. I had a wonderful coach, and we kind of talked through what my one rule was, and we talked through what my day looked like. And I realized that what I was doing when I was tasting the meal before, by the time I sat down at the table, I was full. But I wanted to sit with my family and eat dinner. So I'd have a really small portion at dinner because I wanted to be part of the family. And then I really felt sick after eating. But when I stopped tasting, I still had those little portions at dinner. And I found that I was hungry. So I was having seconds and maybe thirds and kind of replacing the calories that I was no longer tasting with having more to eat at dinner that I probably should. So we tweaked a rule and said absolutely no seconds after dinner ever. And that led me to lose a few more pounds, but once again, weight loss stopped. And again, I was kind of confused by all this and didn't understand how that was even really possible, that I could be having so much fewer calories and not dropping. I wanted to drop 20 pounds in 10 days. And I know that's not realistic, but that's what I was thinking. Anyway, we found through my coach that once I stopped having seconds, I was having a snack around 4 o'clock, and I was probably having way too many calories at that point. So I set another rule. Originally, the rule was one snack at 4 o'clock. And then I amended that to be one snack of more than 200 calories because in my mind, if I had celery and hummus, that really wasn't one snack, it was two snacks. So I thought this way I could keep things safe, keep things simple. Ever since then, I finished the program. I'm probably like on day 100. I have 3 meals a day, one snack, no more than 200 calories. I've lost about 12 pounds, which is a little bit less than a pound a week, but I'm so happy. I feel healthy. I feel really, really good. I have more energy. My clothes are starting to feel a little loose on me. I'm not ready to go down a size, but I feel like it's just right around the corner. I couldn't be happier. My cravings have really completely disappeared. And if anything, I have cravings. The more I eat healthy, the more I crave healthy foods. And it's wonderful.
I love it. So, Sherry, the story you're telling and the journey you're describing is one of iteratively revising your food plan, like adding a rule, tweaking a rule, until you empirically got to where you wanted to get to. It sounds like almost you just needed permission to know you could make those rules for yourself and go through it one by one until you got there. That's a big part of the solution. But usually people struggle once they've created the rules to comply with the rules. It doesn't sound like that happened for you. You just needed to find the right rules and, you were a rule follower. So once you made the rules, you followed them. Is that accurate, or did you struggle at all to?
No, that's very accurate. Yes, I think I am a rule follower. And two, I felt a little bit of desperation because I felt like I have tried everything and nothing has worked. So in my mind, this was almost like, if you don't succeed at this, there's no fallback plan. It's either this or you go back to the way you were. And I didn't want that to happen. Following the rule, when you talk about never or always, and for me it was never, never taste while cooking, never have seconds. It was kind of easy. It was like drawing a fine line. Either I had a taste or I didn't, and it was easier for me just to not start.
Beautiful. That is a big part of the program, is finding the right rules, finding the right motivation, and then sticking to it. I just want for the audience's sake, for people to know that the program is designed to help you when you find you can't follow the rules also. As a matter of fact, a big part of the program is designed to develop the strength so that you can follow the rules. It's just that Sherry dialed in her motivation and, she got the right rules pretty quickly. So she's got, immediate results without much struggle. But I don't want people to feel despondent if they struggle to find the right rules or struggle to comply with the rules, because we'll help you with that too.
Right. And I wouldn't say no struggle because it wasn't easy. Looking back now, I think that it was easy. At the time, every day I'd lift up a spoon to my mouth and go, nope, nope, I have a rule. I'm not going to do it. But after a while, after a relatively short period of time, it really became second nature for me. I do have to say, too, that right around week 7, when you talk about recovering from a binge, that was the first time since I started the program that I had a really bad binge. It was ugly. It seemed to have come on for no reason, and I couldn't control it. And I just ate and ate and ate, and the pig was screaming, and I knew all the reputations, but it just didn't work. And I found, of all your weekly sessions, recovering after a binge was really the most helpful to me, because I followed step by step your suggestions. I got over feeling bad about it and worked on what I had to do to recover. And I'm so confident right now that I hope that doesn't happen again. But if it does, I know what to do.
We developed that module after doing an 800-person survey of people at all different phases of utilizing the program and listening to hundreds of hours of binge recovery sessions. We have these daily support groups, and we had hundreds of hours recorded. We listened to them and categorized them and took all the insights out of that, because if you can recover quickly, then eventually you stop binging. That's what we find. It takes away this idea that you're going to fall into another world, and it really mitigates the damage from the binging. And then people start to have hope. And at first that translates to stopping sooner, but still maybe binging a little bit. And then it translates to stopping the binges altogether and getting control before the binge, so you don't have to go through it at all.
Yeah, it really worked for me. Like I said, I followed every step. Matter of fact, the day after the binge, I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. I skipped breakfast because I was so full afterwards, and I got on my elliptical machine, and I was going to exercise all the bad things that happened to me out of my system. And I turned on the podcast to listen to it and immediately stopped in my tracks. And I thought, okay, I've done 30 minutes on the elliptical. That's enough. I'm going to go eat breakfast. I'm going to make a green smoothie. I'm going to not weigh myself for 3 days. And after 3 days, I felt better. I felt almost grateful that I had that experience. So I went through it, and I know what to do next time.
Good. Is there anything that I should have asked you about that I didn't ask you about today?
Maybe just a few more things that I can add that have really helped me a lot. I think the reason why I'm not binging is because I'm eating 3 healthy meals a day. At least that's and plus a snack. You talk about a slight calorie deficit, which I'm trying to do so that I could continue to lose weight. When I sit down, I'm no longer, first of all, I sit down for a meal. I'm not eating over the sink. I'm not eating over the stove. I treat myself like a guest. I set the table, I sit down, I take 7-11 breaths, which really kind of helps to calm me. One of the biggest things I do is I now eat until I am satisfied and not when I'm full. And for me, there's a huge difference between the two. I used to eat until I was just physically full and didn't want to eat anymore. And now I've felt like I've trained myself just to eat until I'm satisfied.
How did you do that? How can you tell?
I think taking the 7-11 breaths and really before I start eating, some of these things I didn't even realize at the time, but I would sit down and attack the food because I was hungry. And that's another thing the program taught me is it's okay to be hungry. In fact, we're supposed to be hungry before we eat a meal. Otherwise, why would we eat? I could sit down and be hungry, but not attack the food. Take a breath first. My coach really instilled in me to enjoy the food. Food is meant to be enjoyed. It's not evil. And really slow down. I find sometimes I look around the people that I'm eating, and if I'm the first one to finish my plate, that's not good. I ate too fast. And then again, I don't like that feeling of being full any longer. And before, I don't know that I liked it, but that was just who I was back then. And now I don't want that feeling. I want to be able after dinner to go for a walk or play with my grandkids or do something and not be so full that all I want to do is sit on the couch and watch TV. So it took some time. And certain meals, it's easier for me than others, but I do set out portions. I wake up in the morning and I try to decide this is what I'm going to eat. I don't follow it all the time, but taking away that thought for every meal of what I'm going to have just somehow makes it easier for me. And the same thing with the portion control.
Beautiful. What else?
I would say when I first started the program, the loudest pig squeal was that this isn't working. You're not losing weight fast enough. It's not working for you. And now, after having lost 12 pounds, my strongest reputation to the pig is this is working. I have done it. I'm going to continue to do it, and I am not going to go back again. That just seems to work for me. It took me a while to get there. And I guess one other thing, you talk in your program a lot about all the reasons to lose weight, and there's so many of them: to look better, to feel better, to be healthier. And one of the things you talk about is the money that you're going to save from all the food you're not eating any longer. And I'd have one more thing to add to that, kind of a similar nature, and that is I am really, really looking forward to all the money I'm going to spend on a new wardrobe, because I see that right around the corner.
Take all the money you're putting into the bags and boxes and containers, put it in a piggy bank, and buy yourself some sexy new clothes.
Yeah, or at least single-digit pants. I've decided to move off of a particular weight in mind, but if I could get to a single-digit pant, that will be the best reward.
Terrific. Thank you, Sherry. This has been great.
I cannot thank you enough for writing this book and having this program and having great coaches. And I mean, it's really, I know you hear this all the time, but it's been life-changing.
It means the world to me every time someone says it. I don't have children, so this is my contribution to the world. So I really appreciate that.
Well, you're making a fabulous contribution. And I just hope that word gets out about this program, because I really found like I kind of just stumbled into it out of last resort. It's just been, like I said, life-changing.
Thanks, Sherry.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.